Good morning, students. Once again, I am before you, Standard 7. Today, I am going to start chapter 4 of history, that is the Delhi Sultanate. So, in this chapter, I will especially focus on slave dynasty, its rulers, the expansion of the empire, the administration of slave dynasty, and finally, we will move to the vitality of novelty codes and the land control. Okay. Now, before moving to the topic, I want to recapitulate my previous interaction where I have discussed with you about the second battle of Tehran, which occurred in 1192 between Prithviraj Chauhan, the Rajput ruler of northern India, and the Turkish invader Muhammad Ghori. Although the battle was won by Muhammad Ghori, it marked a new beginning in the country. It changed the course of history in India. It not only ended the rule of Rajputs in the northern India, but it also brought a new Muslim rule to the country, which gave a cultural diversity to the country. And the changes the changes which were brought by this new rule is not only visible in the political aspect, but the changes and the impact can be seen in different aspects of Indians' life, whether that was your society, culture, literature, architecture, and others. So this chapter is very important from historical point of view. Now, as I have in this chapter we are going through Delhi Sultanate. See why this is known as Delhi Sultanate. Actually, the time period in history from 1206 to 1526 is known as the Delhi Sultanate period. This is known as Delhi Sultanate because the ruler who ruled during this period, they called themselves as Sultan, and as they were ruling from their capital city Delhi, this is known as Delhi Sultanate period. Now, this Delhi Sultanate period, it actually consists of 5 dynasties who ruled one after the other. The 5 dynasties are the slave or the Mamluk dynasty, the Khalji dynasty, the Tughlaq dynasty, the Sayyid dynasty, and the Lodi dynasty. Now, let's come to this Qutbuddin Aibak, who laid the foundation stone of slave dynasty in India. Now, as you remember, this man was given the charge of India. Muhammad Ghori, when won the battle of Tehran, he made him the general and gave the charge of India to his slave Qutbuddin Aibak. Qutbuddin Aibak was actually a slave who was bought by Muhammad Ghori, but because of his skills and capabilities, he rose to the position of general. And as you remember, when in 1206 Muhammad Ghori was murdered, as he had left no successors behind, whatever the generals and the viceroys who were given the charge of the kingdoms or territories conquered by Muhammad Ghori, they all proclaimed themselves as the independent rulers and led the foundation of their own independent kingdoms. So Qutbuddin Aibak was also one of them. He declared himself as Sultan and led the foundation of slave dynasty. And this dynasty is known as slave because it was actually ruled by the slave or the son of a slave, and that's why it is known as slave dynasty or the Mamluk dynasty. Okay, now let's move to Qutbuddin Aibak, who ruled for a very short span of time, that is from 1206 to 1210. And if you will see, during his reign, he was quite successful in suppressing the internal revolts as well as checking the external attacks. As a ruler, he was very kind and charitable person. He used to give a lot of money for charitable and social works. And because of this, he is known as Lakh Baksh or giver of lakhs. But as a ruler, you will see he treats everyone equally during his time period. But when it comes to the destruction of temple for collecting materials to build the mosque, he did not hesitate. Okay, and this is a unique feature not only with the rulers of the Delhi Sultanate period, even the rulers of the Mughal period also, you will see they were having this feature. They used to attack and destroy the temples and used to build the mosque. Now, this man Qutbuddin Aibak, he was a great builder who led the foundation of two mosques, one at Delhi and another at Ajmer. And not only this, he also started the construction work of famous Qutub Minar, which actually he was building in honor of the Sufi saint Qutbuddin Kaki. Okay, although the construction work could not be completed during his reign, he died in 1210 while playing polo at Lahore when he fell from a horse. So, because of a short span of time, he was not able to build a sound administrative system and not able to contribute much to this dynasty, to the foundation of this dynasty. After Qutbuddin Aibak's death, Aram Shah, who was the son and natural heir to the throne of Delhi, became the ruler of Delhi, but because of his inefficiency and weakness, he was thrown out very soon through a conspiracy by the nobles of Delhi. And after throwing him, the nobles of Delhi invited Samshuddin Iltutmish, who was son-in-law of Qutbuddin Aibak, and he was actually a slave who was bought by Qutbuddin Aibak and later on made him as his son-in-law. Okay. Now, when Samshuddin Iltutmish in 1211 ascended the throne, he faced several challenges. He had to face various rivals like Nasruddin Qabacha, who was the ruler of Multan. He occupied parts of Punjab. Then Ali Mardan, who was the governor of Bengal but declared himself as an independent ruler and proclaimed himself as the Sultan. And on the other front, you will see that the Amirs of Delhi, they started rebelling against him. Then Yaldij, who was the ruler of your Gajni, he started proclaiming himself to be the natural heir to the throne of Delhi, as he was the successor of Muhammad Ghori. So ultimately he was facing different challenges, but because of his efficiency, he was not only able to defeat Yaldij and Qabacha, but also he defeated and killed Ghiyasuddin, who succeeded Ali Mardan, the governor of Bengal. He also suppressed the rebellion of the Amirs of Delhi, and also he won the sympathy of the Muslim after getting the approval from the Khalifa of Baghdad. He had to also face the revolt which was made against him, which was put against him by the Rajput rulers. But Samshuddin Iltutmish was very successful in this, not only by defeating the Rajput rulers but also extending the Turkish Empire up to the banks of Narmada by defeating the rulers of Ujjain, Malwa, Mandu and others. In 1221, again he met another challenge. When Shah of Persia, he was driven away by the army of Genghis Khan, who was a Mongol ruler from Central Asia. So ultimately, Shah of Persia pleaded for shelter in India, but Iltutmish realized that if he will give shelter to the enemy of Genghis Khan, definitely he will have to face the attack of Genghis Khan. And as he was an efficient and able ruler, he don't want to put Delhi in problem, and that's why he decided not to give shelter to Shah of Persia, and in this way he protected the infant Delhi from the attack of Genghis Khan. Iltutmish was a great patron of art. He patronized the great author Minhaj-us-Siraj, and who authored this book Tabaqat-e-Nasiri. Like his father-in-law, he was also a great builder. He not only completed the construction work of Qutub Minar, but also built his own tomb in red sandstone, as well as a mosque in Badaयूं. He died in 1236, but his long reign of 26 years led a strong foundation of this dynasty in India. During his reign, he faced several challenges, but he was able to suppress all the rebellions. He was able to consolidate the conquests of Qutbuddin Aibak, as well as he was successful in building up a strong centralized monarchy. Not only this, The administrative system became very strong and sound during his reign, as he organized the revenue department, the army, the finance department. Even during his reign, you will see the whole empire was divided into different provinces, which were known as Ikta, and these provinces were given the charge of these provinces were given into the hands of Iqtadars, who were actually the administrative officials who have to maintain the law and order in these provinces. He was the first king to mint the gold and silver coins during and the whole period, the whole reign of this man, Iltutmish. It marked a new beginning, especially in the administrative sphere, because he laid the foundation stone of a strong and sound administrative system in India. And that's why he can be given the credit as to build a Muslim rule. He can be given the credit to build a strong Muslim rule in India, and that's why he is known as the main architect of Muslim rule in India. After the death of Iltutmish in 1236, he nominated, before his death, Razia, his daughter, as the new Sultana to the throne of Delhi. Razia, because of her capabilities, because of her skills and generosity, she was made the heir to the throne, and it is very shocking, especially to the society which is male dominated. If you will see the whole period of this dynasty, Razia was the only women ruler of this period, and during that time where there was a lot of domination, especially by the male members of the society, it was very difficult for a woman to become a ruler. But facing all the challenges, Razia became the ruler, but before becoming the ruler, she has to face the conspiracy which was made against her, and through this conspiracy only Rukunuddin was made the king of Delhi. And Rukunuddin was none other the son of Iltutmish, but he was very inefficient and weak, and because of this he was soon thrown out of the throne. And finally when he was deposed, Razia came to the throne of Delhi. Razia has all the qualities of a ruler. She was efficient, skilled one, and even she dressed herself like a man. She ride the horses, even led the army in the battlefields. But after having all these qualities, also she has to face the opposition, especially by the nobles who were very powerful in the court of the slave dynasty. So this opposition was especially because she was a woman, and the nobles did not like to be ruled by the nobles did not Razia was a woman, and the nobles did not want to be ruled by a woman. It was against them. So ultimately she has to face many challenges, conspiracies which was made against her from time to time by these nobles. Finally, she was put to death in 1240 through a conspiracy made by these nobles. Razia was succeeded thoroughly by the incompetent rulers for 6 years, and after this great turmoil, finally the Nasruddin Mahmud, the youngest son of Iltutmish, came to the throne of Delhi. This new ruler of Delhi, who ascended the throne in 1246, he was very inexperienced and incompetent, but was a virtuous person. You remember during the reign of the ruler Iltutmish, he made the powerful Chalisa. Actually, he led the formation of this Chalisa. Chalisa was actually the group of very powerful Turkish nobles, okay, who used to help the king during the difficult times. So these nobles who were extremely powerful during the reign of slave dynasty, this man Nasruddin, actually he was incompetent as well as inexperienced. Balban, who was the prime minister of this Chalisa, he was the real ruler, and the Nasruddin Muhammad was actually a puppet ruler. Nasruddin ruled for 20 years, but the real powers concentrated in the hands of Balban, the prime minister of this Chalisa. And no, sorry, he was not the prime minister of the Chalisa. He was the prime minister of the man, Nasruddin Muhammad. Actually, Nasruddin Muhammad was the king, but the prime minister Balban was having all the powers, and he was taking the major decisions on the behalf of the new king. After the death of Nasruddin Muhammad in 1266, Balban became the new ruler of this Delhi Sultanate. Now, Ghiyasuddin Balban, he became the new king after the death of Nasruddin Muhammad in 1266 and ruled efficiently for another 20 years. See, he was very efficient as well as experienced as a ruler. Already I have mentioned you that as a prime minister to Nasruddin Muhammad, he was giving and taking the major decisions. So ultimately his experience helped him to build a strong empire. See, this man, he realized very quickly that the real threat to the monarchy or the king was the powerful Turkish nobles. So ultimately, to control them, to create fear in them, he started maintaining a very strict, he introduced very strict discipline. He not only introduced strict discipline in his court, but also introduced the Persian custom of Sijda and Pabos. What is Sijda? Touching the ground with the forehead to show respect. And Pabos, actually Pabos is kissing the feet of the king to recognize the respect for the authority of the king. So ultimately these customs, these Persian customs not only shows that the king is the major authority, but also introduces the new system of administration in the slave dynasty. Before Balban, we are seeing that the powerful nobles, the Chalisa, they were very powerful in taking the major decisions. But during the reign of Balban, you will see that the absolute monarchy was introduced. What is the meaning of absolute monarchy? Means the ruler is everything. No one is above him. So ultimately, a concept of a strong ruler came to our mind when it comes to the rule of Balban. He made monarchy powerful and absolute by crushing the power of the 40 nobles. He started strengthening his empire by building a powerful army, by organizing both infantry and cavalry. Also set up an efficient spy system. Because of his strong army, he was able to maintain law and order efficiently, suppressed the revolt of Tughril Beg of Bengal and appointed his son Bughra Khan as the governor of Bengal. He also drove away the Mawati robbers and restored peace in the Doab and Delhi region. He also strengthened the northwestern frontier in order to save Delhi from the Mongol invasions and also to stand strongly in times of attack by these Mongol invaders. He built up numerous forts and also repaired the old ones. Multan, which was a frontier town, he appointed his own son as the governor of Multan. So the 20 years of his reign can be seen as a successful period where not only peace and stable condition was maintained, and also there was growth of trade, commerce and industries, especially your small and cottage industries. He was very successful in checking the internal revolts as well as also saving the country from the external dangers. The country prospered under him, but after his death, he was succeeded by weak, inefficient and incapable rulers, due to whom there was a period of instability. After the murder of his grandson Kaikubad in 1290, the slave dynasty passed into the hands of Jalaluddin Khalji, who started the Khalji dynasty, and after this there was an end of Mamluk dynasty. So in this way the chapter is over. I am giving you the question answers. If there is any doubt, please mention in the comment, and thank you.